Joining me on the telecast is our correspondent Hiral Sachde. She's in New York right now. Thank you, Hiral, for joining me on the telecast. And first up, what's the mood on the ground? What's the latest? Biden's garbage remark has spiraled. Donald Trump is taking full mileage, driving a garbage truck. That happened yesterday. Now he was playing to the galleries. Do you think the Americans are reacting to these histrionics, these theatrics? Are they buying into it?
Biden's comment has been dominating the news cycles. Clearly, Kamala Harris's campaign has tried to distance themselves from it, and they have White House as well as Kamala Harris's campaign have clearly sent out comments, and they've sent out statements saying that clarifying the president's remark and also Kamala Harris's stance on this. In fact, responding to a media interview, Kamala Harris said, and I quote, "I strongly disagree with any criticism of the people based on who they vote for, and I have made that clear throughout my career, including my speech at last night before I think this all happened, which is I intend to be a president for all Americans, including those who may not vote for me in this election," end quote. So Americans are clearly watching this, and even as some of them have already voted, some are doing so as we speak, and some are going to do that on the 5th of November. So we only know after 5th of November how much of an impact these comments from the Donald Trump supporters and from Joe Biden has had an impact on the elections.
Right. Now let's take a look at the numbers. Now, what are the poll projections been like for Donald Trump and for Kamala Harris? Because whether we talk about the Wall Street Journal or the CBS poll, there is obviously the very popular, much watched poll of 538 ABC. There's Ipsos. What are the poll projections today?
ABC Ipsos poll suggests voters trust Trump more with certain issues like economy, inflation, immigration. Voters believe more in Harris on issues like abortion, healthcare, democracy, and looking out for the middle class. So the speech at Madison Square Garden, Kamala Harris's closing argument, and Biden's comments that have come in following that closing argument, all that is not yet reflecting on the polls. But as we go ahead, and in the next few days, if there is another poll that comes out right before the day of the final voting, if those numbers can reflect, we would definitely keep an eye out on that. Polling is already underway, and the last lap we are ensuring that all votes are in. So both parties are concentrated on finishing their last lap of campaigning in key states, and that is where the focus right now is. It is hard to tell what the voters are thinking and where they are leaning in the light of all the political theatrics that is happening at the moment.
Right, absolutely. Now, Kamala Harris is once again back to the swing states. She actually visited 3 of these battleground states. This is Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and North Carolina. What kind of support is she getting from the voters down there?
According to Newsweek article, and this is taking an average of all the polls that have been happening. This particular article has gone ahead and quoted a lot of polls in its report. So according to that, Donald Trump has a slight edge. Kamala Harris is trailing in some of these states. Most polls show a 1 to 2% higher margin for Donald Trump. So Kamala Harris clearly has some catching up to do. Well, it is quite minor at this stage, as you can say. However, a CNN poll says that Harris has a narrow edge in Michigan and Wisconsin. In fact, some polls in Wisconsin show Harris has a 6% lead. This is the CNN SSRS poll. Most polls in Wisconsin also show that she leads 1 to 6 points ahead of Trump. So if you really look at it, it's just going all over the place. In North Carolina, Trump and Harris have barely a 1% margin. So as far as these 3 particular states go, this is what the numbers look like as we speak, and the polls are really not able to reflect a clear direction where the voters are going to go in this election.
Okay, all right. Talking about the number of voters that have cast their ballot already, there are about 65 million of them who have already voted by post or because of early voting. Now there are more and more Americans who prefer to cast vote early. We saw that in 2020 elections as well. It's clearly that the early voting numbers have surpassed the previous 2020 election numbers.
Trump is critical of early voting, and that's the stance that Republicans have held since his last run in the White House and in the 2020 election as well, and even in 2016. But this time around, some of the Republicans are encouraging an early vote. Democrats, on the other hand, are pushing voters to go out, vote early, pick up an early ballot, send in their votes by mail. So that's the foundational difference between the two parties. And the point to be noted is early voting does not just include going at a poll station, but also casting your vote by mail and posting it through the postal service. So that's a very peculiar feature that is still being used in America. So on that front, yes, the number that we have currently looks really huge, like a lot of people have already cast their votes. In fact, one of the CNN reports says that 35% of Republicans are early voters, up from 29% in 2020. And as far as the Democrats go, they make up for 45% of early vote. That is what it was in 2020. That number has actually gone down. So people voting Democratic, early voters who are voting Democratic have gone down to 39% at this moment.
Okay, all right. Talking about Trump's foreign policy, because once again he's come on to the public platform. He's sent out a message to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, and he said that he wants the Gaza war to be over by the time he enters office. Now, Trump's foreign policy, is it resonating with the American?
Well, Trump has claimed that as soon as he comes into office, he's going to end the chaos in Middle East. But both Trump and Harris have given unwavering support to Israel, not just now, for always. In fact, the stance that America has is that Israel is a very, very strong ally, and it's not Netanyahu per se, it's Israel. So it's hard to say if the administration or the government, whichever it is, the Republicans or the Democrats, see that as two separate people. So the issue might be contentious in states where there are a large number of Muslim voters, like Michigan. But some reports surprisingly suggest that Donald Trump is leading amongst Arab American voters, and this is irrespective of the situation in Middle East. So we really don't know how the conflict is going to impact the actual voters here. Of course, if you look at the popular vote or popular opinion, of course nobody wants a war, nobody wants to see that kind of a war. But I really don't know if the people understand the complexity and people understand why this war is happening, or whether which side is right or wrong here. So that kind of reportage really varies from media to media, and the narrative is very expansive over here. So there is no clear preference that the war should end or should not end. So it really needs to be seen whether Donald Trump can actually keep up his promise if he comes to power.
Right, absolutely. And he really last 4 days to go, in fact, and where all are Harris and Trump heading for their next set of rallies and public addresses?
Both the presidential candidates are hitting the road in the last lap of elections. And what we do know from reports is that Kamala Harris is going to be in Pennsylvania and North Carolina. Thursday, she will be in Arizona and Nevada. In fact, she will be joining Jennifer Lopez in Las Vegas as a part of her presidential campaign. And this is, of course, coming from Rolling Stone. So we've seen a few celebrity endorsements for Kamala Harris and also in Trump's rally as well. Trump, on the other hand, is going to be in Wisconsin and North Carolina, and then he's going to be back in Wisconsin on Friday. So we also know that Tim Walz has been doing the rounds a lot of these swing states, and he's also doing a lot of media coverage, trying to be on prominent shows, morning shows on popular networks. So that is how the last lap of election campaigning is going on.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.